the Galaxy S25 Ultra or iPhone 17 Pro Max. I'm going to compare the two in a day in the life during my trip to Albania. Like always, I charged both phones to 100% and I started my day around 9 in the morning. The iPhone 17 series has an anti-reflective coating this year, which is nice because it improves the visibility of the screen, but the coating is not as strong as the one on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, which reflects even less light. Tirana is a lovely city and the capital of Albania, not very far from the coast of Adriatic Sea. I put both phones to track my activity during the day using an app called Komoot while exploring the city. I took this photo with the main lens. The iPhone photo is more contrasty here. On this ultra-wide shot, the Galaxy photo is slightly colder. The main telephoto lens on the Galaxy is 5 times, and on the iPhone it is 4 times, so you get a slightly more range on the Galaxy. Also, the iPhone can only zoom up to 40 times, but the Galaxy can zoom up to 100 times, as I did here on this power grid that gives me anxiety. For the portrait photo with the telephoto lens, the photos are similar in optical quality, but the Galaxy nailed the color better. My white shirt is actually white and not blue. We arrived at a nice cafe called Tony to have breakfast. The best part of the breakfast was this kitty that came to greet us. I simply love stray cats. In Austria, we don't have any. Both phones have a similar color profile. It is long gone, the time when Galaxy phones oversaturated images. I also put both phones to play YouTube in the background while finishing breakfast, and by the time we were done, the Galaxy had 93% and the iPhone 99%. Both phones were on auto brightness, and I usually notice the Galaxy dims the screen a bit more than the iPhone. There was a marathon going on in the city, and we decided to walk around the lake in the south and enjoy the weather. The place we went to is called Tirana Lake Park, and it was a perfect spot to spend a day in nature without being far from the city. I took this photo with the main lens, and it is almost impossible to distinguish between the two. The same goes for the ultra-wide shot, where the only difference is the slight color science. The leaves are deeper green on the Galaxy and more muted on the iPhone. Even on the telephoto lens, the quality is quite comparable, at least in daylight. Maybe the only picture that shows a different optical quality is this macro shot, where the Galaxy simply did a better job nailing the contrast. Generally, these days I would argue the difference in photos is negligible, but video is a different story. The Galaxy has a visibly more vibrant tone on all 4 lenses. Also, the Galaxy has a 3 times lens that the iPhone lacks, so you get better optical quality at 3 times zoom compared to the iPhone. The iPhone's colors are more muted, which you may actually prefer. I went back to the hotel room, which was close to the park, and at this point the Galaxy had 87%, while the iPhone had 95% battery left. I then took a taxi to go to the airport, and I definitely didn't spend enough time in Tirana. Write down in the comments if you are from Albania or any Balkan country. I'd love to know. The airport was small but charming, with a nice panorama view over the mountains, so I decided to take some photos and videos. In this ultra-wide video, we once again see that the Galaxy is exposing the scene a bit more, while also making the video more vivid. I also ordered one of my favorite snacks, cheese burek. Before I boarded the airplane, the Galaxy had 77% and the iPhone had 87% battery left. For the first time in my entire life, I was the first person to board the plane and was able to take a video of other passengers. I shared this video with the Galaxy because with the Pro Video mode, you can manually do a focus pull, meaning you can shift focus from the foreground to the background or vice versa to create a cinematic effect. The camera app on the iPhone is limited for such things. For stabilization, they both do a fine job and I don't see a large difference between them, but the Galaxy has a bit more light shift, which isn't great. We flew over some of the most beautiful aerial sceneries I've ever seen, and it made me want to come back here with my bicycle next time. For the zoom picture, both phones did a good job. The Galaxy photos have a warmer tone, while the iPhones are colder. I also feel the iPhone does a slightly better processing when taking pictures through the window, as it removes reflections more effectively. But as I mentioned before, at the end of the day, you won't notice much difference between the cameras of the two phones. I took this picture with 3x zoom, and here the Galaxy delivers a slightly sharper result because of the second optical lens it has. We entered Austrian airspace only an hour later, and I took this picture over Austria. I do think the Galaxy nailed the colors better here. Another advantage of the Galaxy is the 200 megapixel main camera. If you look at this picture, you don't really see any advantage in using the 200 megapixel mode. But if you crop the same picture, you can see how much more detail the Galaxy produces compared to the iPhone, simply because it has more pixels. So if you plan to print the photo, maybe pick the Galaxy. For video, even though I like the Galaxy's colors and there's nothing wrong with them, if I had to pick only one, I'd probably go with the iPhone during daylight. We landed in Austria and I took the train back home. At this point, the Galaxy had 61% and the iPhone 72% battery left. By the time I got home, the Galaxy had 50% and the iPhone had 63% battery left. I put both phones to upload the photos to Google Cloud, which takes forever, but that's not the case when I use the sponsor of today's video, Ugreen. The same file uploads to the Ugreen NAS DH2300 in a second, because the speed is up to 125 megabytes per second, way faster than any cloud service. The Ugreen NAS is your best backup solution, your own private cloud with no monthly fees. It can store up to 60 terabytes of data. That's around 20 million photos or 40,000 movies, all kept locally and safely. My phone album also backs up automatically there, and my Max Time Machine saves everything straight to the NAS, no cables, and no risk of losing data. You can also use NFC to connect your phone to the NAS instantly. I can set different permissions for multiple accounts, so everyone only sees what they need. And with multi-client support, I can access and manage everything from my phone, PC, or even remotely through the app anytime, anywhere. Thanks to RAID redundancy, even if one drive fails, all my files stay safe on the second drive. Check the link in the description and use my code to get 20% off. Same price as Black Friday, and thanks to Ugreen for sponsoring this video. Software-wise, I'm running the latest version of OneUI 8 on the Galaxy and the latest version of iOS 26 on the iPhone. OneUI has a more classic look, while the iPhone, love it or hate it, has a different design called liquid glass. They share a lot of similar features though. For example, if you hold down the power button, you can talk to Gemini or Siri. There is also the circle to search feature on both phones. On the iPhone, you have to take a screenshot and then scratch the part of the photo you want to search, while on the Galaxy, you can simply hold the bottom of the phone and circle around the object. I really like this feature and I use it often. The iPhone has one clear advantage. It works better if you're in the Apple ecosystem, like if you use iCloud or AirDrop. Android, however, has a few distinct advantages that make me like it more than iOS, even though I use a MacBook and Mac Studio. For one, it has proper file management, which I really appreciate and makes the phone more useful for productivity. It also has a clipboard manager, which iOS lacks, allowing you to access the history of images or text you've copied. And most importantly, it has a universal back gesture, which iOS still doesn't have. On iOS, you often have to guess how to go back, and I kid you not, in some apps, there is simply no way, so you end up switching tabs instead. From a physical point of view, one clear advantage of the iPhone is that it has Magsafe. So if you use a wireless magnetic power bank, it snaps right onto your phone, whereas with a Galaxy, you need a special case. For me, this isn't a big issue because I always use a case anyway. I use Pitaka cases on my phones. If you're interested, I'll link all the accessories I use in the description. The other thing about the iPhone is that you get two extra buttons on the side. One the action button and the other is the camera button and slider. On the Galaxy, you get something even better, the S Pen. And I'm one of those people who actually use the S Pen daily. I then went outside to take some night photos. In this photo with the main lens, the Galaxy photo has more of a green tint, while the iPhone has a more magenta one. In the second photo, the Galaxy nailed the colors better, but the iPhone photo is sharper and more detailed. For selfies, it is not even a contest. The iPhone beats the Galaxy easily. The quality is much better, and not only it is wider, but the selfie sensor is also square, so you can take both horizontal and vertical shots. On the other hand, for zoom photos, the Galaxy is simply better. No matter how hard I try to take a steady shot with the iPhone, the photos all turn out blurry. For video, the quality is quite comparable, but the Galaxy again does a better job with color science, while the iPhone looks too warm. When I got back home, the Galaxy had 47% and the iPhone had 61% battery left. I also did a quick benchmark, and the iPhone scored better in both single-core and multi-core tests, which is expected since the Galaxy is 9 months older and not using the latest Snapdragon chipset yet. To drain the batteries completely, I connected the phones to each other and talked via Google Meet. By the end, the Galaxy had 21%, while the iPhone had 39% battery left. As a note, I did use my nano SIM card version of the iPhone, so you'll get even better results with the eSIM only version. Also, neither of these phones are my personal device, and each has fewer than 15 charging cycles. The iPhone 17 Pro Max offers better battery life, and selfie camera is clearly superior. I also prefer the video quality of the iPhone, at least during daylight, when ghost lights reflections aren't an issue. The iPhone also supports Magsafe and is the better choice if you already have other Apple products. The Galaxy, on the other hand, has an S Pen and a second telephoto camera, which gives you an advantage in certain specific scenarios. It is also generally more feature-rich with a better camera app, and some people may prefer the freedom that Android offers over iOS. Each battery test will give a slightly different results depending on the testing conditions. If you want to see the other battery tests I've done for these two phones and other flagship phones of the year, you can watch this video next. Thanks for tuning into TechMo, and I will see you in the next one.